Welcome, my friends, to another Big Brother's Big Brain. Hope you're very well. The show that puts perceptual control theory into its open English. It's been another turbulent week in the House. The voting public came to bury Caesar and not praise him. And in his wake, the House has turned into one big bitch. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at some unhuman behaviour, with the housemates proving on a daily basis they're pathological liars. We're in hot pursuit of the truth, and trust me, they can't handle the truth. And Caesar's not in the house. He's here, everyone. Oh, how fickle they are. But first, here to discuss the theory that housemates are acting like animals is behavioural expert and old friend of the show, Judy James, everyone. Now, we'll talk to Judy in just a second. Before we do, let's have a look at the housemates and their wild wildlife.
Sam's been saying you guys, like you and Ashley have been talking.
What? Fucking lying bastard.
But that's what I thought, because the girls were saying no, she was being really, really genuine, and I was saying, I'm sure she's just trying to shit stir.
Shit stirring fucking bastard. I'll kill her.
Mate, you took it to this level. This was about alcohol, and then all of a sudden you start bringing names into it.
Why am I being attacked?
You sat there, you were scornful to her, you picked fucking brutal words, and you got away with it because you can.
They weren't brutal words, they were honest words.
She's a harmless little child.
That is humour.
I think the last one might be pushing it a bit. That was just two jackals having a shag behind a bush. Not Leah and Glyn. Judy, it's nice to have you with us. Tonight, we're here to talk about simian behaviour.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think the Big Brother house is the nearest thing you're ever going to get to a colony of human apes in captivity. It's always been like that, but this lot, this year, are probably, in the way that they're presenting, in their behaviour, in the kind of alpha behaviours, they're absolutely spot on.
I know it sounds obvious, but alpha behaviours meaning how they take control, or...?
Alpha being Greek, number one, it's the strongest creature in the pack. So it's not necessarily control as you'd imagine it, but it's usually done in the alpha male would be strong, protective, gets all the girls, gets all the food.
OK, great. So let's go for it then. Alpha male in the house, who's that?
Alpha male in the house was Richard, mainly because he got rid of Shabazz, and at that moment...
Was or is?
Was.
Interesting!
When he got rid of Shabazz, that was his moment, because he'd saved the rest of them. And he's got this kind of big physique as well. I mean, he looks like your alpha male, but he hasn't actually got the strength to back it up. He's not really a tough guy. Absolute alpha male, Caesar. I mean, Caesar fits the profile so well, even with the hair, because alpha male apes have got hair that sticks up.
But I could never be an alpha male.
You could never be an alpha male. And that was Richard's problem. But if you remember when Richard and Caesar had that head-to-head,
yes.
Richard was wearing that wig with the sticky-up hair,
yes.
So completely fitted the profile at that point. But Caesar, completely sexually dominant. He absolutely won that fight as well.
Because that fight was kind of 50-50, but then what was the moment that turned it? Was it... Because it was almost after the fight, I guess.
I think most people thought it was when Richard went away and cried, but in actual fact, in ape language, that would be OK. He could still be alpha male. But it was who goes up to who afterwards. And if you remember, Richard came and found Caesar in the bathroom and sat lower than he did. And apes, when they hand over the alpha male, they sort of sit low and make little grunting noises. Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, if you remember, Caesar was kind of sitting there like that with bare chest and everything.
Pretty good pecs as well, I imagine.
But excellent
peck
pecs.
Envy going on there. Now, listen, you want to talk about... You said sort of Richard used to be alpha male. You want to talk about Grace? Well,
Grace is potentially the new alpha male.
Can you be alpha male if indeed you are female?
Yes, you can. Okay. Kind of. When you get apes in captivity, they kind of get out of stereotypes, and that's very much what's happening here. And I would say that Grace could possibly be alpha female, but she's not displaying any of those tendencies. She's much more dominant, physically dominant. She likes to win all the fights. She'd love to take over the alpha spot, but that will be Richard's spot that she will choose.
So would she have to do that after Richard goes, or could she do that while he's here?
I think she could take him on head-to-head.
OK, we've got an example of Grace acting like an alpha male. Let's take a look.
If they bring in another fucking nutball, screwball in to replace George, we know it's fucking fixed.
You know what they're going to do. They're going to bring in a good-looking guy. And they're going to see if things...
Well, if they do, then we're going to fucking bring him over here on our team. If we do, we fucking use our powers of fucking seduction, girls. Right? Bikinis out, fucking makeup on every day, because we're fucking not winning, we're not losing this.
Now, you know, as a guy, you like a bit of mysticism, but there's something kind of sexy when a girl says, oh, and as a guy, you kind of go, you do that for us. Yeah. What was going on there, though?
I mean, she's really rallying the whole tribe there. I mean, if you noticed as well, she's even started dressing like Richard. She wears the same hats. Not the vests and the muscles, but I mean, she's got the cowboy hat. She wears it at the same time as him. And that's very much like the adornments are beginning to match. So she's taking his space.
Look.
Yeah, see?
You just got that there. Wonderful. She hasn't stolen
You couldn't tell one from t'other there, really.
OK, if Grace is an alpha male, or at least has potential to be the alpha male, who is the alpha female?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's...
Dom, dom, dom,
yes,
dom, 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 dom.
Leah, absolutely alpha. The big thing with alpha female, with the simian behaviour, is that it's all done through age. So the oldest female will normally be the leader. So she kind of gets there anyway. But she also uses a lot of touch. She grooms, and that's a very powerful technique.
See some of that now. There she is. She's touching. I don't know, to the left we see a couple of baboons, and to the right we see Leah there. She's touching, she's kissing, she's grooming. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, alpha females don't fight to get where they are, but they go around nurturing, grooming, touching, and then high impact. If they want to knock people into line, they actually take the touch away, and that is very traumatic.
Right, OK, we've got a clip of that, so talk us through this. Let's have a look at it first.
Down.
No, I'm just really angry and naked at the minute. 20 years ago, and I feel like I'm with fucking school kids, reminding me what to fuck.
It's all at me. It's all at me.
But Leah, I don't understand why you're throwing daggers at me.
I'm not throwing daggers at you. I'm angry. I'm really angry because of the situation. I'm angry because I've learnt to trust people and I've given my trust and I shouldn't have so freely.
Oh my God, I can't take this.
Firstly, a brand new experience for me, which is Nikki being morally right in an argument, and secondly, proof again that you know, whatever Nikki says is hilarious, but not actually on the point. So, talk us through there. What was going on there? She was like moving away from.
I mean, Nikki had been treated like the whole sport child, hadn't she? I mean, she'd been sat on her knee, hugged, etc. And that becomes...
Which is something Nikki appears to like.
Absolutely adores it. I mean, the little princess routine. But then Nikki actually voted against her, or she guessed. And at that point, she cut off that affection. You go, Nikki's traumatised. And this would be very much ape behaviour. The young ape would then throw a little wobbly and a tantrum. And then the alpha female will ignore that as well, and it will bring them back into line again. It works.
This is getting quite eerie now. Okay. Apart from Richard, Leah and Grace, there's someone else you want to talk about in the house that has the sort of simian alpha behaviouristic?
Well, we've got Ash. Ash is the one to watch. Ash came in... When female apes actually reach puberty, they're chucked out anyway, and they have to go and ingratiate themselves with another group of apes. And so she came in late, which very much fit that profile, but she came in so confidently. If you remember, she actually got up their nose because she had too much confidence.
Well, this is it, because I was watching it thinking, I don't understand where all this has come from, because she hasn't done anything to you to be insulting, and yet here she is, she's come in and she's, you know, she looks quite flirtatious, you know, and curvaceous, and suddenly all the girls' noses did seem to have to join.
But she should have been submissive, you see, because if she'd have been submissive, that would have allowed them to have the higher status.
Right.
The only one she was submissive towards was Leah, and she actually groomed Leah for a long time. There are actually scenes of her grooming Leah. She even had her arm around her in the swimming pool. And what she was doing, she was trying to be adopted, really, by Leah, which actually worked. Leah's now taken her under her wing. Richard said to her, if you remember, he said, you know, it's almost like they were going to die. It's like, if anything happens to us, we want you to take over.
So what does that, what position does that put her in terms of that sort of simian structure that you're telling us? Could she be the next alpha female if Leah goes?
She's quite a way down the list. I mean, Richard and Leah would have to go, and Grace wouldn't let her. Well, I don't know. Fight to fight, I think Grace would lose that one.
Okay.
But what she's doing is she's actually there as a kind of second lieutenant, second in command. So she's kind of fighting Leah's battles for her as she needs it, because Leah doesn't want to be a warrior.
Great.
So Leah will be alpha female.
Lastly, then, predictions as to what's going to happen, because you wanted to talk a little bit about Sam, because Sam's the crux, you think.
Sam, for me, will be the deciding factor. This could kick off at any time, and that will be Grace taking on Richard. Sam's come in, though, and actually made herself very unpopular, and she's kind of taken up this Shabazz-type role. That will be the only thing that will unify the house. If they hate her enough, they will actually gang up against her like they did with Shabazz. So
why does everyone hate her? Because with Shabazz it was a bit more obvious, to be fair. But with Sam, is it just because she's almost trying too hard?
Well, I mean, it's all back to the ape thing, because apes actually fight to get peace. And so what they're looking for is if they can fight with her, and it really doesn't matter who she is, actually. I mean, it's just accidental. But that will actually make them all join. And it will go back to those nice, happy days when they were fighting Shabazz, but they were all friends and playing and having fun and having sex and things like that. So that's where they want to go back to, so they'll pick on anybody to achieve that.
OK, brilliant. For now, thanks a lot, Judy. Wonderful. Man, this is educational. Now, as we've told you over the last couple of weeks, we did loads of tests on the housemates before they went into the house. Apparently, you can measure how happy you are as a person. We gave all the housemates a questionnaire to fill in with answers like this, as you can see now. On a happiness scale of 1 to 7, compared to most of the people you know, I consider myself to be ... For me, for example, on air right now, pretty much top of the world. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, number 7. However, miss up a couple of lines, go back to my dressing room, cry like a baby, turns into a number 2. From this, who is the happiest housemate, Pete or Glyn? Back with a smile after the break. See you in 4. Hello, welcome to Big Brother's Big Brain, second half, the show that'll change your mind about psychology in a good way, we hope. Before the break, we asked you, who is the happiest housemate, Pete or Glyn? I am now going to ask the audience their opinion. The young lady that asked me not to speak to her. Pete or Glyn?
Glyn.
You think Glyn?
Pete, obviously.
You think Pete? Obviously. The answer is, drum roll please, it is... Thank you for the ad hoc drum roll. It's Glyn. There we go. And he's so happy, he's turning gold, as you can see, in front of your bare eyes. Not only, stands back in amazement, is he the most intelligent housemate, also the happiest. Mikey and Nikki were least happy housemates. How about that? Would you have thought that? Nikki's dissatisfied about everything on earth! Now, it's fair to say the housemates are the biggest bunch of backstabbers I think I've ever seen in my Big Brother lifetime. Can you trust anything anyone says in there? Joining me now is big brain psychologist and lying expert, well, at least that's what he told us, Professor Richard Wiseman, everybody. Hello, Richard. Nice to meet you. Great to have you with us. Pleasure. Now, Richard, I don't know, how can you tell if someone's lying?
Well, a lot of people would think it's all about the body language. So with a lie, you think, OK, they're going to look away from you or move their hands around. But that's not the case at all. What you really want to look out for is the words they're saying and how they're saying them. So liars tend to use fewer words, they speak more slowly, more hesitant, and so on. Those are the real cues.
OK. We conducted tests... Thanks. On all the housemates before they went into the house. We asked them to describe their first snog.
Yep.
And also we asked them to make up a story about their first snog. We're going to have a look at Nikki. Audience, viewers at home, can you guess which one is a lie and which one is the truth? Let's take a look.
Yeah, just snogged and everyone was looking and counting how many seconds we could do it for. It was very silly, childish. My first kiss was actually at infant school. Well, it was only a little peck on the cheek, but I got all very excited and unnecessary.
I've done this twice, and I keep getting it wrong. Audience, first or second? Second. Most people are saying second, I think.
And most people are absolutely right. Yep, the second one is the lie. Yes.
That's a first. OK, talk us through the science.
OK, well, we've shown these clips to lots of people, and about 80% of them spot the lie. And the reason for that is Nikki is an appalling liar. she is really not very good at all. And what she's doing is giving away all those classic signals I was talking about. So it's not really about so much about what you're seeing, but what she's saying. So when she's lying, there's just not the description there. She's hesitant, she's thinking about the answer, and so on. So you just see that huge drop in detail.
OK, so there's a definite difference between the two,
Absolutely.
Right? Yep. However, Grace is someone whose lies are featuring a lot at the moment. Let's see if we can tell which one of her stories is true.
Henry
would do ballet, and he was the only boy in like the ballet class. And anyway, so one day, Henry and I think we were waiting to go from the corner to do our little jetés with these like little dance moves. Anyway, so we were waiting in the corner, and he just held my hand, and anyway, he gave me this massive smacker on the lips, and then I just burst out crying. It was on a modelling job, and we were down in the Cotswolds, and it was in this big old country mansion thing, and I had to, like, for one of the shoots, not sure why they had kids kissing about 5, but anyway, I had to kiss a boy, and God knows what his name was. I think it was like Ollie or something, I don't know. And so yeah, so we had to kiss for this shot, and that was it, and I got lots of ice cream afterwards.
I'm getting the sense Grace might be a criminal mastermind. Audience, first or second?
Oh, that's interesting.
Richard.
Yeah. The first one, complete pack of lies.
Really? Well done.
So that's pretty good. Now,
so our audience are criminal geniuses as well.
Absolutely brilliant. Audience much better. When we showed these clips to people, they were really split 50-50. And it's amazing with Grace. She is a very, very good liar.
Okay,
so
how can we tell that?
Well, when I've studied these clips, I've looked at her eye movements, the words she's using, how much she's moving her hands, how much detail. There is no difference between the lie and the truth. So she's really good at making the lies sound convincing.
Would one normally, the whole sort of baton signals, I think it's called, right? The whole, moving the hands around, is that normally the sign of a liar, or someone that...
No difference at all. So you'll find that people will do that as they gesture naturally. If they're actually covering up their faces, something like this, then that could be the sign of a liar.
OK, brilliant. We want to put this to the ultimate test by quizzing Caesar. Yesterday, we went and rigged him up with a lie detector. Let's take a look.
Follow me in. So if you can just take a seat here for me. And these two need to go onto your fingertips. Try not to move your hand around too much. Perfect. That's good. And if you can take a deep breath for me.
And it's here now, everyone. Caesar, everyone.
That's so harsh.
It's not Friday. Calm down. Caesar, without telling any of the questions that you were asked the other day, how did you find the whole experience?
It's very strange.
Was it?
I will say, though, whatever the results, they're unreliable. Don't believe them.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's the process for determining whether Caesar was answering truthfully or not?
Well, what we did was to place 2 sensors on his fingertips. They're very, very sensitive, so the more he sweated, then we could detect that. And the idea was that if you don't sweat so much, then that's perhaps associated with the truth. If you see a big kind of incline in the graph, then that's associated with a lie. It's only a theory, it's just an indicator.
So it's not foolproof, but also you talked about the whole micro-gestures and stuff like that as well.
And also, that's what we're looking at, is the complete package. We're analysing your facial expressions, the words you're saying as well.
OK, and we've got the graph here as well. We can just sort of display that for us.
Yeah, so this tells us how to look at the output from the polygraph. So on one side there, you have the person calming down, that some people associate with the truth. The other side, they're becoming more stressed. That looks like a lie.
Brilliant. I can't wait for this. Here goes question 1.
Yes or no, you're in love with Imogen?
No.
I'll repeat the question. Yes or no, you're in love with Imogen?
No.
Are you certain about that?
I'm very certain.
It's a tricky one.
Talk us through this.
Yeah. What you see there is when he's talking about Imogen, it's actually pretty flat. It's only right at the end when he laughs, and that's why you see the big incline. So also the answers are quick, they're pretty detailed, first time round there. So I think he's telling us the truth.
He's telling us the truth. There's not enough with Imogen.
No, I think that's what that's the verdict.
Let's take a look at the next one.
Let's imagine you did get together with Imogen. Do you think you'd remain faithful?
If I love somebody and I care for somebody, I will always remain faithful.
But do you think you'll remain faithful to Imogen if you got together with her?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you lying to me?
No.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yes.
Cruel man. That was like the contour of the Alps. OK, talk us through that.
It's fantastic. Pretty much every single indicator of lying is there. So you have the big long gap between the end of the question, beginning of the answer. Then you have a brilliantly evasive answer where he says, oh, no, I could stick with someone I love, not actually answering the question. And then also the polygraph showing more and more incline as time goes on. So I suspect if you look at all those signals, you get the thumbs down, it's a lie.
Can I just say, somebody turned the temperature up in the room at that.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the last question. Question 3.
Now, some people have accused you of being sexist. What do you think to that?
I completely disagree. I confess to love women. I was brought up by women. I've lived my whole life around women, and you know, I've only felt affection from women, and it's something that I love and I'm used to and can't live without. So I naturally always want to be around women.
It's off the scale.
It broke the machine. It was amazing. But there's a real mismatch here between your body language and the words you're using and the polygraph. When I say the word sexist, that's where you see this big incline. So that clearly freaks you out, and you've had a hard time over the last couple of days. That's not surprising. But the words you're saying and all the body language is perfectly consistent with telling the truth. So I suspect you don't think your behaviour is sexist. In that sense, you're telling the truth.
Thank you. I believe in that test now.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty much all we've got time for. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Conclusive proof that Caesar doesn't love Imogen, isn't going to be faithful, and gets stressed when it's called sexist. Thank you, Richard and Caesar, for being such good guests. Thanks also to Judy James. That is all for this week's Big Brain. We are back same time next week. You can join me, BBLB, Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 on E4. And remember, ladies, please form an orderly queue. Caesar is out of the house. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.